For the longest time, Greenland has been seen as, well, not much more than a huge frozen island way up north. It's the biggest island in the world, but it's been almost completely off the radar. So why, all of a sudden, has this icy territory become the center of this intense, almost bizarre geopolitical obsession?
And then, seemingly out of nowhere, this whole thing explodes onto the public stage with Donald Trump. He actually publicly floated the idea of the US buying Greenland from Denmark. He even joked about making Greenland great again. So what started as a kind of strange diplomatic idea suddenly became this huge public fixation.
It sounds a little crazy, right? An idea that most people just laughed off. But behind the headlines, there are some really powerful forces at play here. So what is the real story? Why is the United States suddenly so focused on controlling this massive island? Let's get into it. Okay, so to really get what's happening right now, we've actually got to look back. Because as it turns out, America's interest in Greenland isn't new at all. Nope. It's really rooted in a long history of military strategy that goes back almost 100 years. It all started back in World War II. The US built bases there to keep an eye on Nazi Germany. Then, right after the war in 1946, they offered what would be over $1.5 billion today to just buy the island. Denmark said no. So instead, the US built the huge Thule Air Base, which was an absolutely critical spot during the Cold War. But then, the Soviet Union collapsed, and US interest just kind of faded away. And this is the crucial point. The US already has a major military presence in Greenland. They could probably get more if they really needed it. So yeah, the military history is important, but it just doesn't explain the sudden, intense obsession we're seeing today. There has to be something else going on. And that something else, well, it's buried deep under Greenland's massive ice sheet. We are talking about an absolutely staggering amount of natural resources, a treasure trove that has totally changed how the world sees this island. Get this, back in 2008, the US Geological Society put out this mind-blowing estimate. They believe Greenland could be sitting on over 52 billion barrels of undiscovered oil. That is just an enormous, enormous number. Now, I want you to just think about what that really means. If those numbers are even close to accurate, this one island could hold more oil than all of the current proven reserves in the entire United States. For a country that is obsessed with energy independence, that is an absolute game changer. But it's not just oil. Oh no. When you add in natural gas and a whole bunch of rare earth minerals, which, by the way, are crucial for everything from our smartphones to advanced missile systems, the total estimated value of what's under that ice climbs to a jaw-dropping $4 trillion. But here's the twist. You'd think that's the end of the story, right? Well, not so fast. In 2021, Greenland's own government decided to ban all new oil and gas projects. They cited environmental concerns, the high costs. So if all those resources are now officially off limits, that still doesn't explain the urgency. There has to be another layer here. And the next piece of this puzzle isn't actually what's under the ice, but the ice itself. Because as our climate changes, it is literally reshaping the top of the world. And in doing so, it's unlocking brand new strategic power and economic opportunities that were, until now, frozen solid. The Arctic isn't just getting warmer, it's heating up at a rate 4 times faster than the rest of the globe. This crazy fast melting is doing way more than just raising sea levels, it's completely redrawing the map of global trade as we know it. As that ice disappears, new shipping lanes, like the famous Northwest Passage, are opening up. A cargo ship going from Asia to Europe through the Arctic? That can slash weeks off the travel time compared to going through the Suez Canal. For global trade, saving that much time and fuel isn't just an advantage, it's a revolution. And why does this matter so much? Because a staggering 80% of all the goods in the world travel by sea. What that means is, whatever nation ends up controlling these new, faster Arctic routes will essentially hold the keys to the world's supply chain. That's immense economic power. And listen, this is not some theoretical, far-off future scenario. It is happening right now. Over just the last 10 years, the number of ships passing through the Arctic has already jumped by 30%. The race for the Arctic is on. And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most urgent reason for this whole US obsession. The United States is not the only superpower that's noticed the incredible potential of a melting Arctic. A new great game has begun at the top of the world.
And you can already see the major players making their moves. Russia is aggressively building up its military all along its northern coastline, and even planted a flag on the seabed right under the North Pole. Meanwhile, China, which isn't even an Arctic nation, is positioning itself as a major player, pushing something called an Arctic Silk Road, and even trying to build critical infrastructure like airports in Greenland itself. So, facing all this, the US is now scrambling to play catch-up. In 2020, it reopened its consulate in Greenland's capital for the first time since 1953. It's pouring billions of dollars into upgrading its Thule air base. And US officials have now flat out said that the island is critical for American national security. So you've got it all coming together: military strategy, incredible resource wealth, brand new trade routes, and this intense geopolitical competition. That all explains the why. But it leads us to the final and honestly fascinating question. Could the US actually buy Greenland? I mean, what would that even look like? Now, countries trading land is incredibly rare these days. One of the only recent examples was in 2017, when Egypt gave 2 islands to Saudi Arabia as part of a multi-billion-dollar aid deal. But for Greenland, with everything we've just talked about, some estimates have put the potential price tag somewhere around $2 trillion. For its part, Denmark has been totally clear and consistent. Greenland is not for sale, period. In fact, they're kind of putting their money where their mouth is. They just committed $1.5 billion specifically to boost the island's own defenses, which sends a pretty clear message, don't you think? And yet, the official position from the US stays deliberately vague. When asked directly about buying the island, the White House press secretary basically refused to rule anything out, just saying that all options are on the table. It's one of those statements that leaves the door open for pretty much anything. So this obsession with Greenland isn't about just one thing. It's a perfect storm of history, money, climate change, and what looks like a new Cold War. And while a direct sale seems unlikely right now, the island's strategic importance is only going to get bigger, which leaves us with the ultimate question. As the ice keeps melting, who will win the race to control the future of the Arctic?